Hi everyone! Today I am reviewing the latest book in the Beauty of Horror series. This is called Famous Monsterpieces and it's book 6 by Alan Robert. So Famous Monsterpieces is a art themed book. So it has lots of pieces of art and sculpture that we will know and love, such as the Mona Lisa, there's Van Gogh in there, we've got Da Vinci, and they've all been given Alan's horrible little twist. They're all quite horrifying, quite gruesome. And yeah, it's just fantastic. As you all know, if you've been watching my channel, I am a massive horror fan and these books they're just the pinnacle really. So let's get straight into it. It's the same size, shape and format as the previous books. It has the same gold foiling, not gold. I'm so used to saying gold foiling. The same blood red foiling that we have on the Beauty of Horror books. And here's the back. So this is just explaining exactly what I've just said. All of these different pieces of art have been reimagined in a horrifying way. So let's get straight into the book. So it does have the dust cover, and the dust cover is colourable. It's quite smooth and glossy, but you could use markers on this if you wanted to. And this is one of the pieces from inside the book. So you can colour this on the paper in the book, or you can colour it on the inside cover, or both. It's up to you. So what I'll do actually is I'll take that away because sometimes it can get a bit annoying slipping and sliding everywhere. And then we'll have a look inside. So let me get you lined up. We've got our title page, again, fully colourable. And the copyright page. I'll move you across a little bit so I can try and get everything in. Hopefully that will. There we go. That's the centre of my camera, so hopefully everything's in. I'm a bit zoomed in on my iPad, so I can't actually tell whether this is all going to be on there, but it should be. Okay, so yes, copyright page, again with colourable elements. We have got a belongs to page, and you can put your name there, the date that you began the book, etc. And then we have the lost items. So these feature in, I think, every Beauty of Horror book. There are going to be some items scattered throughout the book, which you can count up and see if you can find them. They're all hidden in the illustrations. We've got a bloody palette knife, Mona Lisa's smile, Venus de Milo's arms, Dali's moustache. So yeah, there's quite a few funny ones. Warhol's wig. And yeah, that's quite fun. It's a fun element to the book. It's not something that I usually go out of my way to do, to try and find the items. I just prefer to get in there and colour all the fantastic illustrations. But it's there. And then we've got the little bit of kind of poetry that we normally get at the start of the book. I've moved this again, idiot. We've got the poetry that we usually get at the start of the book, and I do like to read this, so here we go. In the small hours of one starry night, the museum sits still, but something's not right. Alarm bells ring loud, shaking gallery walls, as chaos befalls the exhibits and halls. The little ghoul girl with a sinister grin, unbelievably, undoubtedly, is at it again. Picasso, Da Vinci, Van Gogh and Monet. Oh, you won't recognise them once she's had her way. With the stroke of her brush and a bucket of blood, she's compelled to transform all the treasures we love. From Degas and Dali to Renoir and Pollock, she'll slash them and trash them and cheerfully frolic. And just when she's done and nearing the end, she'll invite the fiends, her most masterful friends. Together they'll scamper and revel in dread as they take a Rembrandt and shrink down its head. Mona Lisa and Frida become true tales of terror as Giuliana insists that her versions are better. Poor Lady Ermine is now a cannibal killer, and others resemble famous slashers from thrillers. So break out your palette and let passions run wild. Join in the fun of the deliciously defiled. Of course, all this bedlam has to come at a cost. Won't you please track down the missing items she's lost? So there we go. That's all the missing items for you to track down. And I love that bit of poetry at the start. It's a nice little story. And we go straight into the illustrations, which, as you can see, I've completed the very first one of the book. And this is Edvard Munch's The Scream, which we all are very familiar with, and it's been given that horrifying twist by adding in Ghostface from the Scream movies. So that's how he's tied it in. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, I really enjoyed doing this. I did it all with wet media. So I use Neocolor crayons on this, Neocolor 2 crayons, and lots of water. There has been a bit of buckling, but nothing major. And to be honest with you, I kind of wish I'd just blacked out the background. I'm sort of on the fence with it. What I did with the frame was to put lots of acrylic paint down. First I did it completely blood red, and then I wanted some black in there, and then I thought, let's add a little bit of black gold just to give it the shine of a frame, you know. And it kind of didn't. It sort of looks a little bit like a child's had a go at it. And in an attempt to take away from that, I also filled in the rest of it with distress inks, so it looked a little bit bloody, a little bit gory, and I don't think it's quite come off the picture that I had in my head when I had the idea of what to do. But if I just sort of look at the picture on its own, I really like it. Obviously I've done my best to try and emulate the colours of the original painting, and in fact that's where my little book comes in. So what I've done is I've gone all the way through this book, and I have printed out some of the original images, in fact all of the original images of the original artwork for these pages, so that I can flip through them in order, and I've got a little reference guide, so I don't have to keep googling or whatever, you know. Every time I go to this book I can just pull out this little binded book and see some reference for the pictures, because I do quite like to keep things to a reference if I can. It just gives me a nice guideline to start with. So as you can see, we've got Scream to start with, and then we've got The Girl with the Pearl Earring, which is the next one in the book, and hopefully I've ordered these all correctly. So all I did was print these, cut them and hole punch them. Very simple. You can do the same if you wish. I just thought it'd be nice as a reference guide. So yes, let's move on. Girl with a Pearl Earring is now Guliana with a pearl earring and a bloody axe, because why not? There's a lot of that in these books, because just why not? Fantastic. One thing I will say before I move on is that, and I've had this problem a couple of times, I had it in Beauty of Horror creature feature, that's what I was trying to say, and the binding seems to come apart sometimes. Not so much come apart, but the pages come loose. So you can see here that I've been working on this page and it has come loose. It's come loose here as well, but it's still attached, so I've just got to be really careful with it. I think it must be obviously the type of binding that they're doing. It can happen where the pages start to come loose. Some people prefer to be able to take the pages out easily and colour them, you know, without the restrictions of a binding. But it's just a quick note to say that that does happen, and it has happened in the past with previous Beauty of Horror books. So just something to note. Okay, next up we've got a Jackson Pollock homage. So I've just printed out a random Jackson Pollock here. You can see that basically all he does is just chuck paints at a canvas or just chuck paint on the floor, and this is art. Art is obviously very subjective, and you know, but to me, if it looks like my toddler could have done it, and anyway. So yes, this is Alan's homage to that. So you can see we've got Guliana's friend, is it Gregory? I think it's Gregory, just chucking paint around, and he's even got the skeleton dog helping as well. And there is a Mona Lisa smile. So that's one of the items that we're looking for. I won't point all of those out, because I'll let you do that yourself. But that's a double page spread, as you can see. Next up, and I've actually printed off from the back of the book, we've got an art key, and I've printed that off so I don't have to keep flipping backwards and forwards, because that'd be really annoying to watch. Next up, we've got American Gothic, which is by, who is it by? Grant Wood. So again, a very popular piece of artwork, and I think Alan did something very similar in Creature Feature with characters from Poltergeist sort of stood in this in homage to this. So yeah, again, so these are a couple of zombies, I guess, and it says obey, consume, so I believe that this is also from a particular film that I can never remember the name of, a horror film or a sci-fi kind of thrillery film. I can't remember what it is, but I do remember having these words in that book as well, so I know that that was referenced. Then over here we've got Mona Lisa, of course, by Leonardo da Vinci. And even though we all know what that painting looks like, I've still printed a reference for every single one. This is really not great. I could have printed it on card, to be honest, but hey ho. So yeah, we've got Mona Lisa, and she has been thoroughly zombified. She looks like she's come back from the dead, and obviously her smile is missing. So that's why we're having to find them throughout the book. But yeah, love the bats, love everything about it. The frame, obviously. So yes, Mona Lisa. I'm going to move these out the way, otherwise I'm just going to keep faffing around. Very, very thick page quality. It's the same paper that he's always used in his books. So really thick. It stands up to wet media, I can attest to that. Yes, so the next one is Paris Street, Rainy Day by Gustave Caillebotte. I don't know how you say his name. That's going to happen quite a lot throughout this review. But here is the original. So you can see that he's changed them all to these horrible ghouls walking through the street. There's a lot of mist. You can imagine it being quite a spooky, scary scene when it's done. And we've also got the inclusion of a giant spider that's just erupted from the ground. So that wasn't on the original, was it? So I just love the imagination in these books. I say it every time, but I just do not know where he gets his ideas from. To be able to just look at an original artwork and think, yeah, I know exactly what I'm going to do with that. That's going to be a zombie. That's going to be a spider. It's amazing. So here we've got very famous Andy Warhol paintings of Marilyn Monroe's portrait. And here's the original of that. So you can see if you want to use those colours, you can go completely original and use those colours, or you can do anything you like with it. And obviously she has been changed into the undead, possibly vampiric Marilyn Monroe with those teeth. Next up, we have got Unicorn by Adolphe Cavallo, and that's what this one looks like. It's quite pale. It looks very, very old. I don't know what the date is for that, but it is a unicorn frolicking in a fenced area, and that's what we've got here as well. But it is, of course, a dead unicorn, or an undead unicorn. This one is called Mater Dolorosa, the Sorrowful Virgin by Derek Bouts. Now, obviously, I am going to be saying these names probably wrong, so you're just going to have to excuse that. And here's the original. So I absolutely love religious iconography. I'm not religious per se. I was brought up a Catholic, but I don't attend mass regularly. Why am I getting into my religion? I don't know, but I do love religious iconography on its own, apart from any, religious ideals that I may or may not have. So yeah, I really love this kind of art, and this is definitely one that I am going to be colouring. I just really like it. I can't really pinpoint why. It's just that very traditional religious icon, isn't it? So yeah, really like that one. And then next up, we've got The Self-Portrait by Vincent van Gogh. So here's the original, which we all have seen many, many times before, with the lots of swirls and whirls in the background. In fact, the whole thing is kind of made up of swirls and whirls. He was an incredible artist. And he's holding a knife this time, so I think he's just had enough. I mean, we all know that his tenuous mental state was not great. But yeah, he's clearly gone right off the rails. And yeah, just love it. Now, this is one that I coloured ages ago. Alan sent me the file for this to colour, so that, as like a promotional material, look at a new page from the book, see it coloured. And I had a ball colouring this. He sent me a couple of different ones, but I immediately went straight to the Hannibal Lecter one. It's one of my favourite ever characters in horror. And I thought, yeah, I've got to colour Hannibal. So I think actually, I should have prepared this, but I think I've got the original colouring that I did in my book. Just bear with, yeah, there we go. So let me just take this out. So that's the original colouring that I did of this page. So you can see what it looks like when it's coloured. I believe I used Prismacolor, looks like it. I can sort of tell the shades by now. And yeah, again, lots of distress ink on the background, and I outlined it as well. So yeah, really, really good fun doing that. Absolutely love Hannibal Lecter. I gave him the original maroon eyes that he actually has in the book. So obviously in the films he doesn't have that, but he does have maroon coloured eyes in the original source work. So that's what I did. So yes, you can see that one, how it looks when it's coloured. Fantastic. So then we've got Whistler's Mother, and this always reminds me of Mr. Bean. I think it was Mr. Bean 2. I can't remember if it was Mr. Bean 1 or 2, but he did he defaced a portrait of Whistler's mother, and it was really funny. So Alan has had his go at defacing this portrait as well, and he's actually changed it into Norman Bates's mother, which is just, again, the imagination. Absolutely fantastic idea. You've got the Bates Motel vacancy, no vacancy sign out of the window, and you can see she's sat in her rocking chair, just looking out the window, ready to pounce. I've actually bookmarked this because it was one of my favourites. So again, that's another one that I will be colouring. So I can take that bookmark away now. And here's the original, by the way, Whistler's mother. Very boring. This is going to be far better. Where's my little list gone? Okay, so I've got my art key back. So Whistler's mother was by James McNeill Whistler. And then we'll move on to this one, which is The Great Wave by Hokusai. And we'll all have seen this. It's very, very famous. The big blue waves, I can show it to you. I keep forgetting I've got a reference. So there it is, the big blue cresting waves. And Giuliana's having a great old time surfboarding on the wave. My nail has just pinged off. That's really annoying. Right. This one is The Card Players by Paul Cézanne. Let's get the original. Here we go. And you can see that they've been changed to classic horror monsters. We've got Frankenstein, the Mummy, the Wolfman, and then we've got the Dracula as well. We've got upside down crosses on the walls, and to be honest, this would be really cool if they were having a seance on the table rather than playing cards. That would have been a good idea. But yeah, obviously it's got to pay homage to the original. And next up is Winged Figure by Abbott Henderson Thayer. Yeah, gorgeous piece of original artwork there, which has been completely defiled. And she is now this horribly decayed creature, again holding an axe. They've all got a grudge to bear, all of these characters, haven't they? Now we've got a double page spread of The Hand of God. This is of course Michelangelo, and I'll just get the original. I'm sure everybody will have seen this. There we go. So The Hand of God, and this is the hands of God that are actually detached from the body. They are severed and they are dripping blood, because it wouldn't be beauty of horror without tons and tons of blood, would it? Next up, we've got another Vincent van Gogh. This is a self-portrait with injured ear and pipe. Now this is quite fun. We've got lots of got bugs coming out of his eyes. We've got the pipe here, which has a lot of kind of creepy artwork on it. Even though it looks like it's just a pattern, if you look, it is actually a skull. So that's really cool. And then the smoke comes out into this kind of weird smoke creature. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like a demon in the smoke, I guess. But there's the original. His eyes are very close together on that portrait, aren't they? But yes. Then we have got the Vitruvian Man, Leonardo da Vinci, obviously. And Alan has changed this into what I believe is Baphomet, which is it's kind of like a satanic icon, isn't it? Like we have religious iconography for God and stuff, and I think Baphomet is like a religious devil kind of icon. And that's the original Vitruvian Man. We've seen that many times before. This is a good horrifying take on it. And we have that illustration from the cover of the book, and this one is referencing Washington Crossing the Delaware by Emmanuel Lutz. Hopefully I'm saying that right. And instead of all of those characters, we have got Michael Myers, Ghostface, Giuliana, Friday the 13th, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger. We've got Pinhead from Hellraiser. We've got Leatherface, Chucky, and of course It, the clown. And the original one looks like this. I just love how different they are. It's really funny. I wonder what the original artist would think if they saw these interpretations. This one's called Acrobats at the Cirque Fernando by Pierre-Auguste Renoir. So this is a Renoir. And here was the original, the two girls at the circus, and they're holding circus balls. But in this, they are holding human skulls, or balls made out of skulls. Anyway, it looks like they're quite shaped. Yeah, fantastic. They've also got demon horns and wings as well. And the the arrowed tail. This one is referencing Anatomy Lesson by Rembrandt, which is this one here. I don't know whether it would have been better for me to just put these images up on the screen, but I'm doing a lot of faffing. Hope you don't mind my faffing. And this one, this is Gene Wilder, isn't it? Now, obviously, this is referencing a film, and I'm not entirely sure which film it is. I'm sure all of you are screaming at me now because I don't think I will have seen this. But yeah, this is definitely Gene Wilder. You can tell it's definitely got that resemblance. Is it Frankenstein? I think he played Frankenstein, didn't he? Dr. Frankenstein. It's coming back to me now. I believe it is Frankenstein, and then obviously he's got his monster here. So yeah, it's cool. And then what's this one? Grand Odalisque by Jean-Auguste Dominique Ingres. Wow, there's a lot of long strange names here. So here's the original. And this one, wow. So we've got the forked tail, we have got the demonic wings and horns, and what else? She's kind of stitched together as well, and there's lots of lumpy bumps, like almost like she's got something under her skin. So yeah, ooh, creepy. Big areas of white here for you to do a background if you wanted to. This one is quite easy to interpret. So this is Yellow Fool's Hat by Rudolf Hausner. Oh my goodness. And you can see, if I just show you the original, it's very, very similar indeed. But the boat is actually the SS Georgie, and he has the It lines down his face. So this is definitely an It reference. And that's, again, fantastic. I would love to colour this one. It would go really well with the Hannibal Lecter one. And yeah, it's brilliant. I just love the imagination in these books, and I can't stop saying that. I just don't know how Alan does it. I just really don't know. This is Little Girl in a Blue Armchair by Mary Cassatt. So here's what that one looks like. And of course we have Juliana and her skeletal dog taking the place of the little girl and the little puppy, which looks a little bit like my Rosie. So yeah, you can colour that, you know, in the blue colours, or you can do it blood red, like a whole massacre's occurred. It's totally up to you, and I would love to see everyone's interpretations of it. This is The Drinkers by Vincent van Gogh. So this wasn't a painting that I was familiar with, so this is the original. And you can see that instead of them having a bit of ale out of a flask, they are vampires now drinking blood, and they're actually selling it for 25 cents. So good deal if you want a bit of A negative or whatever they call it. So yeah, fantastic. Again, interpretation of the original subject matter with that horror twist. This is Saint Lucy by Artemisia Gentiliche. Maybe. And as you can see, this lady has been transformed into this horrifying creature, and what she's reading is not some sort of, you know, old tome. It's actually Handbook for the Recently Deceased from Beetlejuice. So I just love those little tie-ins to the horror community, the horror film history there. That's fantastic. Turn over my little reference now. We've got Elizabeth Grant, Banks and Beattie by Joshua Jackson from Dawson's Creek. Yeah, here we go. That's the original. And she's got those horrible wings. She's got a flower crown, but I believe they'll probably be dead flowers. You could do them in black and deep red. And instead of holding on to whatever it is she's holding here, she's got a human spine. So yeah, again, because why not? I'm going to say that she's maybe making some kind of potion, some tincture with that human spine. That's what she's doing. Next up is Bacchus by Caravaggio. So again, not one that I was familiar with, but here's the original. So we've got a lady and her child, I'm assuming. But on this Alan Robert version, we've got Juliana, and she's probably fallen out with her mum. I think that might be what's happened. She's had a little bit of an argument. She's got the knife out. Can you imagine if anyone just steps into this review now and they're like, what the hell? But yeah, fantastic. Next is Lacuna or Lacuna and His Sons, okay, I can't say this. Lacuna and His Sons, Asander or Agsander, Athenodoros and Polydoros. Yeah, I'm hoping that there'll be a lot of arty people on here that can tell me what they think of the interpretation of this. That'll be really fun. So again, it's just a random person with leaves in his hair. How can this be right? This can't be right. This isn't the Sons, is it? No, this is the Sons. I was going to say there's no other kids on here. Right, forget that. Let me go back a minute. I'm getting confused. This must be Bacchus, because that's the one I've put in before that, and it's the same illustration. So what's this one? Hang on, let me go back. Elizabeth Grant, Bacchus and Beauty. St. Lucy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm confused now. So that is that one. And that is that one. And that is that one. Page 39, page 40, page 41. This is wrong, I think. This must be the Death of Cleopatra, is it? Oh my goodness. So there's the Sons. That's the Death of Cleopatra. I don't know what this one is. Where have I got this from? This has to be Bacchus. Elizabeth Grant, Banks and Beatty. Oh no, St. Lucy, Elizabeth Grant, Banks and Beatty, Bacchus. And then, yeah, where the hell have I gone wrong there? Where have I gone wrong? It's just me. It's definitely me. I get a bit confused a lot. Right, let's move on quickly. Lacuna and His Sons, I've said all the names, I can't say them again. And this is a sculpture, as you can see. So we've got snakes and all sorts going on here, which is fantastic subject matter. And Giuliana and Gregory have taken over the position of the Sons. It's obviously some kind of devil that's got these massive wings. He's even got hooves for feet. So yeah, fantastic. Just quickly, swiftly moving on from that ridiculous confusion that I had there. Then we've got the Death of Cleopatra, which is now Giuliana. And I love all of this Egyptian, background in this. It's the Eye of Horus, isn't it? If I remember correctly from my school days. And yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And instead of these little faces on the armrests, we've got skulls, obviously. This is fantastic. So this is the Arnolfini portrait. So let me just flip over so you can see. So this is just some dude and his girlfriend. And we've got Xenomorph and Ripley from Alien. So again, just the imagination used to try and think of what characters you could put in the place of these famous artworks is brilliant. We've also got one of the creatures down there as well. This one is Giuliana and Bats by amazing illustrator Alan Robert. So this isn't an homage to any particular picture. It is just Giuliana. It's an original work by Alan, and her bats are actually helping to bring all of her different supplies. One's got a palette knife, yeah, and she's painting her own horrifying picture. This one's Boy on a Ram by Francisco Lucientes. And this is what it looks like. It looks like something that your grandparents would have had on the wall in like the 50s, 60s, something like that. I'm not entirely sure when it was painted, but as you can see, we've got Gregory. He's got a machete because this guy has got a whip, so he's changed that for a machete, and the ram is clearly an undead ram. The next one is Virgin and Child with the Young Saint John the Baptist by Antonio de Correggio, which I'm sure we'll have all seen before. Again, very common religious portrait. And, you know, the babies are, instead of this one being a little cherub, he's a little demon. He's got the horns, he's got the teeth, he's doing the Baphomet sign, and this one is a little cherub. So she's got a couple of completely chalk and cheese babies there, but I think this one takes after his mum by the looks of it. This is the Easter Island heads of Rapa Nui. So you will have seen this, again, another stone sculpture rather than a piece of artwork or a portrait. You will have seen these Easter Island heads. I've got one in the garden, I'm looking at it right now. Clearly not as big as these ones, but the horrifying thing about this is that Alan has actually given them bodies underground. So you see the heads as normal, and then right at the bottom here they've all got skeletons. So what happened there? The faces were set in stone while the bodies rotted under the ground. Maybe. Very interesting. I put a bookmark on this one because it's another one from Beetlejuice with the handbook for the recently deceased, and I thought it was fantastic. Again, use of imagination. I need to think of another word, but I haven't got the imagination. This is Woman with a Rough Collar by Rembrandt. So let me show you the original. And in Beetlejuice, this character does have this massive ruff. So that's, you know, clearly where that interpretation has come from. But I just think it's great with the shrunken head. Yeah, I wonder what Rembrandt would say if he could see this. I think he'd love it. Wounded Angel by Hugo Simberg. So we've got an angel being carried off by these two very creepy gentlemen. We've got Gregory and we've got somebody else. I don't know where they're taking her, but it's not good. Here's the original. She's taken off the blindfold that this one is wearing in the original page. So yeah, I don't have a good feeling about where these guys are taking her. This one kind of reminds me of like a gravedigger or something. I don't know why, but I don't think she's got a bright future ahead. This is Mother and Child by George Stubbs. So we've got the mother crying her eyes out. Is she crying tears of blood? I don't know. But I think this might be why, because this is the child that she is tucking into bed. Quite clearly a little demon child. So might have been fun to do like an Omen homage on this one, but I'm trying to tie everything into horror movies, and that's creature feature, that's already been done. But yeah, that would have been a cool idea. This one is The Song of the Lark by Jules Breton. Here it is. Really beautiful painting, actually. I would love to own that. That's really nice. And you can see that she's got her, what do they call that thing? The scythe. And she's also got the scythe here as well. But in the background, what have we got going on? I'm trying to see what... this is a big scythe. This is a big decorated scythe in the background. And then you can see that instead of chopping down the corn and for the harvest, she's just chopped someone's head off. It doesn't look like he was in the best of health, though, to be honest. So I think she was probably doing the service to the community by getting rid of this guy. She looks fairly normal herself, so I'm just going to say that there was a zombie outbreak. She got the old scythe out and took care of the problem. Okay, so this one is The Black Hat by Lila Cabot Perry. Let's have a look at the original. Very boring original, isn't it, really? We needed something to spice it up, and that is what Alan has done. So what have we got here? We've got the same picture, but sort of it's superimposed onto other pictures of the same thing. So we've got a frame of this picture as well. She's sat down. She's giving the finger. Didn't notice that till now. Mind you, so she. I thought Alan had just slipped that one in as a little bit of a goof, but no, she is actually giving the finger. I can see why he chose this one. Yeah, fun. This is L'Olesienne, Madame Joseph Michel Gunois. Vincent van Gogh. Here she is. So she sat at the table reading a book. She looks really bored. She's probably reading War and Peace or something boring. And here she is as Frankenstein's wife. What do they call her? Frankenstein's bride. So yeah, fantastic. We've got this anatomy of a head here with the brain and the skull. I'm not entirely sure what these are. It must be something to do with the original Frankenstein's bride in the film, but I haven't seen it, so I can't tell you. But yeah, good interpretation. This is Children on the Beach by Mary Cassatt, and this is a really sweet little picture. It's really sad that it's been made into this horrifying one, but I love it. So we've got obviously the frame, we've got a pentagram, and yeah, it's all kind of spooky. But looking at the actual illustration itself, we've got Juliana and her friend on the beach. And instead of digging for seashells and treasure, we found a couple of hands reaching out through the sand. So this would be a really good one to completely change it from a beach and make it into, you know, like a graveyard or some horrible swamp maybe that they're digging through. Yeah, there's a lot of ways you could interpret that one. Then we've got the Zouave, which is another Vincent van Gogh. Here's the original. Very strange looking guy, with kind of like a fez hat. And this is, I think, clearly John Wayne Gacy, who was a serial killer and dressed as a clown. And he's obviously got the fez and he's got the same clothing and stuff. But it's quite unsettling, this one, because I think it probably is modelled after that real serial killer. And I don't know what it is about it. And maybe it's the position of the point of view of us. But he's looming, and he's very, very creepy looking. But yeah, as you can see, that's where the inspiration came from. And yeah, it's cool. Then we've got, there's so many images in this book. I love it, don't get me wrong, but I feel like we've been here for hours, and I hope that you're enjoying it as much as I am. I don't want to waffle on. We've got Venus by Alexandros Antioch, I believe. So here is Venus, obviously with the arm chopped off, or both arms chopped off, and Juliana is censoring that, because then we've got David by Michelangelo, which definitely needed to be censored, and Gregory is doing a great job of doing that with their signs. I think that's really funny. These would be great coloured and then framed and next to each other, just as like a funny reference to classic art. This one is great. I put a bookmark on it because I love it. It's Ophelia by John Everett Millais, I believe that's what it's called. And the actual artwork itself is stunning. I'm just trying to do it one-handed. Here's the artwork of this lady floating in the river. I'm guessing and I'm hoping that she is alive in this portrait and she's just having a nice little float along the riverbank. But then obviously Alan has changed this to it being a floating corpse with crime scene tape, and I just think this is a fantastic idea. Again, it's one I really, really want to colour because I do love the original, but I love the horror interpretation more. So yeah, brilliant. Next one, we've got another big, it's a crab, isn't it? I thought it was a spider for a second. This is called Venus by Sandro Botticelli. Is that right? This is a Botticelli one. I hope I've got it right, yeah, because it's after Ophelia. So this is the one. So she stood in the big seashell, as you can see, but instead of being surrounded by her friends and a lovely lakeside view, she's got a giant crab coming up behind her. So whether or not she is in control of this crab and they're good mates, or whether it is looming behind her ready to pounce, we will never, ever know. This one is Ugolino and His Sons by Jean-Baptiste Carpeau. Let's have a look at the original. Was this a sculpture? It must have been. Yep, there it is. So that's the original. It's a bloke with his kids. And this guy is a demon and he's got his demonic children down here. There's chains. I don't know whether the children are chained or he's chained, but there are chains. And yeah, that's that interpreted like that. Then we've got, I keep looking through my list, Oleesque by Paul Gauguin. I'm so terrible with art, honestly. Here it is. So I'm not really sure what Oleesque means, but I'm pretty sure we've had one of those. Yeah, there was a Van Gogh one. So this one is Oleesque, and then we had a Van Gogh one earlier on, which was L'Ancienne. So yeah, I don't know. Are they similar? Are they something to do with the same place or the same people? I don't know. But here we are. So instead of this grassy knoll that is featured in the foreground of this painting, we have instead got a bundle of skeletal remains. So a pile of bones, basically. And I don't know where these guys are going or what they're planning on doing, but we are in a graveyard. You can see we've got some graves here, and these two big things, I don't know what they're meant to be. It's very strange, this painting. this would have been cool as like, again, I'm trying to bring it back to horror movies, but this would have been cool as, you know, in Hostel, that film, they've got that really huge column that's like very looming over the city, and that's, I believe, where it all happens. That would have been like a good idea, maybe to have a Hostel reference, but again, there are 2 of those, and again, this is not a horror movie book. I keep having to remind myself of that. I have bookmarked this one because I love it. This reminds me of Sam from Trick or Treat a little bit. And then these characters we've kind of seen before in Alan's previous books, the rabbit mask, the bear mask. We've seen them a couple of times before. And this is referencing, is this referencing anything? I'm not sure. Hang on a second. So that was Lacuna and His Sons. Then we've got Alciers. Then we've got Polynesian Woman with Children. So I think... Oh no, this must be Polynesian Woman with Children. I don't know why I got confused, but it happens a lot. Here we go. Obviously, that's Polynesian Women with Children. Paul Gagin again. Yes, so the children and indeed the mother have been converted into these horridly masked creatures. I guess it's very, very Halloween-y, this one. Love it. Then I found it really hard to find the... reference photo for this, and I had to actually ask Alan. I was like, what painting is this? I can't find it on Google, and it turns out I was spelling the bloody name wrong. So this is Morning, Noon and Night by James Stewart, which I spelt wrong. Out of all of these names that are very complicated, I spelt Stewart wrong. So here's the original. Beautiful painting. Morning, Noon and Night. So it goes from this lovely blonde, pink-cheeked girl across to the more kind of darker complexion, the dark hair. I really like this. This is another one that I'd like to have an attempt at, following the original palette as well, because it's not a palette that I would use very often. Very vintage, very old, very sepia, very yellowed. It would be cool to try and emulate that. This one is Christina's World by Andrew Wyeth. Now here's the original. Oh, this book was not a good idea. Here's the original. Very strange painting. It gives me a strange, unsettling feeling just looking at the painting. I don't know why she's kind of... It looks like she's crawling towards the house, and the perspective is very odd. But what I love about this is the house that she's crawling towards is the Amityville house from Amityville Horror. And I think all of these lines, again, it gives that unnerving, unsettling feeling as well. Yeah, I love what he's done to this, and the fact that it's got reference to a horror movie obviously means that it's something that I want to have a good go colouring. Then we've got The Thinker, which is another one that is very, very common. Here he is, The Thinker. This is by Auguste Rodin, and he's been changed into a mummy sat on top of a pile of skulls. So, I mean, what else would you do with this if you were going to change it into a horror? It's got to be a mummy sat on a pile of skulls, hasn't it, really? Next, we've got The Fifer by Edward Manet. So we've got some Manet. Here he is. Lovely illustration, kind of boring, but then look at what Alan's done to it. So he's actually pipering, fluting. What do they call it? With the snake charmer. He is snake charming someone from the dead. So we've got this hand raised up from the ground, and you can see all the music notes playing around, and he's snake charming it through. He's even wearing the little snake charmer's hat. It took me a while to get there, but I did get there in the end. This one is The Milkmaid by Vermeer. So Vermeer also did go with a pearl earring, and I actually really like his work. It's been very, very interesting to look through these pieces of original artwork. Some of them obviously I've seen before lots of times, and some of them I haven't, but I have learned that I really like Vermeer's work. He was incredibly talented, and this is The Milkmaid. But what is she making? What is this version making? Well, it looks like she's making some kind of cannibalistic stew. Maybe this is blood that she's pouring, maybe it's bile or some other horrible liquid, and you can see we've got the hazard stamp on the edge of this here. So there's a lot of hazardous materials, and it's probably not very hygienic in there. I'd probably say we need to get environmental health involved in this. But yeah, there's another Mona Lisa smile hidden in that one, but I won't point it out. Then we've got the Windham Sisters, but I think that this is the next one, is it? Let me just check. For all this preparation, I'm still getting everything wrong. This is the Windham Sisters, so that can't be it, can it? No, they're there. Okay, so these must be original artworks by Alan that he's put into the book. So we've got a gallery of ghouls here. We've got clowns. We've got obviously Juliana and her friends. We've got It the Clown on this one. We've got a zombie. What else? We've got the skeletal dog. Yeah, very, very cool. Really like this one again. Another one that I really want to colour. It's fab. I love the way that he's made it into a gallery. And then we've got like a wallpaper page, which is a sort of horrific mandala, a monstrous mandala that has been printed several times. And there's a lot of images here of things that we need to be looking out for on our haunted hunt for the items in the front of the book. So there we go. Now we go on to the Windham Sisters. Lady Elcho, Mrs. Adian and Mrs. Tennant by John Singer. I think it's John Singer. I might have missed a little bit off the end there. And here is that picture. Again, just a normal old portrait. But this one, very, very different. So they're all very ghoulish. They're clearly undead. And I don't know what I'd want to put in this picture here. You can't really see, or at least you can't see on this printout, what was in this picture in the original. But it would be cool to put something in there of your own. And obviously that's why Alan's left the blank space. So do with that what you will. Now the final illustration in the book, the final portrait in the book, is this one. It's The Swing by Jean-Honor Fragonard. Definitely not saying that right. And here she is, Juliana, of course, to finish the book on the swing with her friends around her. We've got a couple of different sculptures and things going on. Because in the original, I think there are men reaching out to her, very strangely. Maybe they're pushing her, I don't know. But you've got those have been changed in this here. But I love how he's managed to turn all of these into horrific monster pieces. So yeah, fantastic. This is the cover of the book. So where are we? Here it is. This is the cover of the book that you can colour. And then this is Juliana, an extra illustration of her painting what looks like Pinhead, and lots of other paintings. So that's a fun one. I like the big black bulb ones. I don't think I've coloured one of those before, but he always includes one at the back of his books, usually the cover. And then we've got a create your own area. So you can design your very own famous monster pieces. You can do that in frames, or you can do them on these pillars as sculptures. So brilliant. I'd love to see anyone's interpretations of that. We've got a palette page, which again is usually included in the Beauty of Horror books, so that you can swatch out all of your colours, see how different materials play on the paper. The paper has a light tooth to it. It is on the smoother side of, you know, the smooth tooth scale, but it's definitely on the smoother side. But you can use pencils. I've used nothing but pencils in my Beauty of Horror books, and it's always turned out fantastically well. Then we've got the key to the lost items, which I won't linger on. And then we've got that art key, which is what I printed out. So everything in this book is named. Unfortunately, the pages aren't numbered. So you kind of have to go through and just figure out where each one is. But it's not too difficult. And at least they're all mentioned. I mean, some books, you're looking at interpretations and you're looking at trying to look for references of the original artwork, and they never tell you, and you like, does anybody know what flower this is, or does anybody know this? But it's all been included here so that you can, you know, you can use that as your reference. And finally, we've got the little bit of promotion for the rest of the Beauty of Horror universe. So you've got all of the books up until now, and you've of course got the tarot, you've got the Christmas book, the Halloween book, and the Haunt This journal, and there is so much more to come from Alan and the Beauty of Horror universe. So look out for my reviews. You know I'll most definitely be reviewing them. But as for now, all I can say is another fantastic piece in the collection of Beauty of Horror books. This is fantastic. It isn't my favourite, because nothing's ever going to top Creature Feature for me unless he does a Creature Feature 2, and I keep trying to sort of slowly try and quietly push him into doing that. But yeah, it's brilliant. I love how he's interpreted everything, and just incredible. So I'll be leaving a link for this in the description. It is out now. I believe it was out yesterday, so I'm a day late, but I hope it's been worth waiting for. I hope you've enjoyed my waffling, and if you want to buy it, go ahead and check out the link in the description. Thank you so much for bearing with me through a truly monstrous review, and I will see you soon on Colour with Claire.